Welcome back to our summer Bible study on Psalms and our journey through Psalm 22. So we've been in this back and forth between the experience of feeling distant from God and feeling like God's not present, to the trust that this is the way God has been present in the past, and that trust that God will continue to be active in the present. And so we're now approaching kind of the apex of this this little poem or this psalm, to where we're coming to the point where we're both at the point where the crisis seems the most extreme, but we also are going to experience today that resolution. So Psalm 22 continues. I can count all my bones. They stare and gloat over me. They divide my clothes among themselves, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, do not be far away. O my help, come quickly to my aid. Deliver my soul from the sword, my life from the power of the dog. Save me from the mouth of the lion, from the horns of the wild oxen. You have rescued me. So as I mentioned before I read it, we're at that kind of the apex, to where the need is dire. You know, whether it's starvation that's causing the person to be weakened, or whether it is just the presence of the enemies around them, they are in severe danger. Now, if you're a really attentive listener, you may have heard something that sounded really familiar in the midst of the psalm, and that is in verse 18. They divide my clothes among themselves, and for my clothing they cast lots. And it is this echo that we hear in the crucifixion scenes, where the soldiers are casting lots for Jesus' clothing. And Jesus really becomes, in many ways, the embodiment of this psalm. And when they were trying to describe what the death of Jesus was like, they often went back to images from the psalm. Psalm 22 appears frequently in the crucifixion narrative. But whether it's in the crucifixion of Jesus or whether it is in our own struggles, it's that desire. God, don't be far away. In this time where it feels like I'm God forsaken, God, don't be far away. Save my life from the enemies that are around there. Whether we describe them as dogs or lions or bulls, but notice something at the very end of verse 21. There's a change. From the horns of wild oxen, you have rescued me. So we don't know if there's an immediate response to this prayer, or whether there's a gap of time, whether hours or days or months or years between the ending, or between the next to last line of verse 21 and the last line of verse 21. But something has changed. The prayer has been answered. It's the transition from rescue me to you have rescued me. It's the transition to my God, why have you forsaken me? To the empty tomb. It's that point in which God has acted. Now, it doesn't always happen immediately. It doesn't always happen on our time schedule, but we trust, and that's one of the reasons we lift up psalms like this, or that we lift up our prayers. We trust in this life of faith that God does respond, that God does act, that God does hear. And that even at those times where it may seem like God is far away, that God still hears and God still acts on our behalf. And so now the psalm, which up to this point has been a psalm of need, of want, of trying to navigate that life of faith between the experiences in the past and the stories of the past and the present and the experience of the present, now transitions into a new experience of the present, where now we're looking back on the event in light of the reality that God has rescued. So now we're going to continue that tomorrow as we continue to work through Psalm 22.